Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Asus ROG Ally. This is a portable gaming console that runs Windows 11. It launched today, June 13th, 2023, and it retails for $699 US, at least the version that I picked up at Best Buy today. So yes, I did purchase this. This is not a review unit, and I'm very excited to share it with all of you because this does, in my opinion, and I think in just about everyone's opinion, represent the best product, at least on paper, of its kind ever made. And Asus is clearly targeting, well, the competition, the only competition as far as I'm concerned, the Steam Deck, which I've had since launch. It is excellent and really has put this entire segment on the map. It's not that people didn't think of or try to make portable gaming systems like this, again, centered around the PC experience. This runs Linux, but Valve was the first to do so with great success, and now we have this unit from Asus. So there's also a model for $599, but again, that is not available as of yet. So let's talk about specifications, because really just about everything in this machine is superior to the Steam Deck. That doesn't mean that the Steam Deck gets walloped by this in every category, but I have to say, it almost does in just about every category. So specifications, we've got an AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, that is the Zen 4, compared with the Zen 2 in the Steam Deck. So when it comes to processor performance, definitely a nice bump here, and this is, part of this just being a newer product. It's complemented by 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM. We've also got a 7-inch 120 hertz 1080p display. The star of the show, arguably. This is something I really had hoped that Valve would have put together a little bit better of a display, and that was one of my immediate critiques of the Steam Deck. And, just getting this thing out of the box, I can already say the ergonomics compared to the Steam Deck, I prefer. This is slightly lighter. I think it's a little over 600 grams instead of closer to 700 grams. I like the styling on this. It just, looks like more of a modern handheld than, of course, the Steam Deck that I just pulled out does. And that's, really one of the, I would say less important differences. We also have a 512 gig NVMe drive in here. That is a Gen 4 drive, for those of you that are wondering. On here on the plastic, they're just showing us the charge port with the included 65-watt charger, which, by the way, gets this charged up in a little over an hour, as opposed to a little over 3 with the Steam Deck's 45-watt charger. You're going to plug that in right there. Then they're also letting us know the power button is right here. SD card slot, which happens to be UHS 2, is, I believe, right there, where my thumb is on the left. And thinking of other things you should know, we've got some QR codes to get started, but that's pretty much it. So let's get the plastic off of this. Again, that 1080p display, 16:9 aspect ratio panel, really between the resolution bump and the high refresh rate, it really does take us in a direction that I think we should have seen with the original Steam Deck, but I'm just glad we're getting it now. But I like the build quality on this. You can see the back. I mean, whether or not you're going to be in love with the Asus design language inside of Republic of Gamers is really a matter of personal preference. Other things to note is, an important thing for me is that this does have Windows 11 on board. And for some people, that will be a detractor. But for me, the idea of having an ultra-mobile PC that happens to game is just a really good marriage. Some of you won't be interested in that. Of course, the NVMe drive is upgradable, but remember, you've got that SD card slot, so I'm not particularly concerned about that. And the fact that it's UHS 2 is a nice bonus. Let's see what else is in the box. But that pretty much covers what you need to know about the console itself. The GPU, it's the RDNA 3 as opposed to the RDNA 2 with the older Steam Deck. They do not include a case. I think that's a little bit of a miss, Asus. I think that, if you could have done anything, a case would have been nice rather than selling it for an additional $40 US. But again, remember, this is only $50 more than the highest spec machine from Valve. So with that in mind, if you haven't purchased a Steam Deck yet, this, in my opinion, shouldn't even be a hesitation. I mean, yes, it's nice that the interface with the Steam Deck and the fact that they've really optimized it incredibly well, but the truth of the matter is you can run Steam on this machine and you can run just about anything else you want. One of the best things, in my opinion, in addition to Steam on here, Xbox Game Pass. You know, this isn't the only device that can do it, but it is going to be one of the best. So paperwork, I'm getting that out of the way. That 65-watt charger, I mean, definitely nice to have. And when gaming with this, if you plug it in, you are going to see a performance bump. And I'm just looking here. It appears inside of here, they're telling us, well, 1, 2, 3. There is a little stand in here, but I have a feeling it's kind of like an Insta360 stand. I'm going to see if I can get this out without mangling it, which may be difficult for me, but I am trying. I'm not seeing a great way, but I think I've got it. So there is the little stand, which is cute that they've included it, something they certainly didn't need to do, but it is just a piece of plastic. So let's not get too excited. And they're just showing us, again, that the orientation is that you just set it up like that and then drop it in there. So, you know, smart of them to do this. I would have rather had a carry case, but thank you, Asus, for that little stand. So let's continue to dive in here on the actual capability of this. So if you are after emulation, then obviously this is going to be one of the best games in town. I'm not trying to be cute there. You can see also that this power port, we have that Type-C port, but then we have that full-size adapter, and that is because this also supports eGPUs. And Asus has their own custom solutions. I believe you can pair this with up to a 3080. So very impressive for something like this. And really, this is an Ultrabook squeezed into a portable, you know, console. So I've always loved ultra-mobile PCs, and that's why something like this really appeals to me. There are other, I would say, variations of ultra-mobile PCs, obviously out of China in very small, well, UMPCs makes the point, right? Ultra-mobile PC. And really, again, these are just Ultrabook internals stuffed into incredibly small devices with small touchscreens. But that really can unlock the potential. We have a 3.5mm headphone jack, again, that UHS 2 micro SD card slot, so pretty easy to throw a full terabyte in here. One of the reasons you don't have to upgrade the NVMe, but with NVMe prices really crashing to, well, at least, you know, contextually compared to years past, it's as good a time as ever to upgrade one of these, and really simple. That is something I will likely be exploring. Our volume rocker, power and charging LEDs, status LEDs, that power button, the left bumper, right bumper, left trigger, and right trigger. We also have, of course, buttons here on the back as well, directional pad, your joysticks, I mean, everything. We also have the crate on here for those of you familiar with Asus's gaming experience. I mean, so a lot to like. You know, I've read some critique about the D-pad. I really don't see any issue with these buttons thus far, but it will take some time. We do have RGB on board as well. I'm going to go ahead and see if this does power on. Looks like we'll need to plug it in like any good old laptop, so let's do that now. And the good news is that you do not, to my knowledge, have to use their 65-watt adapter. So I'm going to grab a 65-watt Lenovo that I have right here, which should be perfectly fine for our purposes. You can see it coming into frame. Hopefully I have enough slack. And let's just see how this works. And that's probably where I will leave things for the day, simply because there's not a whole lot else I can tell you at this point until I start using it. So you can see we're charging, amber light, and let's go ahead and power on, and we're in business. You can see the RGB on both of the thumbsticks coming up, and again, this touchscreen display, 500 nits it's rated at, so very similar to the display on the Steam Deck, but again, 1080p, 120 hertz. Some of you will say you don't really need 1080p with a 7-inch display. I will disagree with you all day, every day, because better displays are better displays. And I've been gaming and using 4K since it launched, just like I've been filming here on the channel in 4K since it became possible, which I believe is now, since 2012? So I'm all for the 1080p 120 hertz panel. And then also, this does support a variable refresh rate across the board, so it should make all of your gaming better. But I can tell you right now, the display looks good, even just with the the loading up Splash logo. And having Windows, while for many of you that may be a drawback and you liked the fact that the Steam Deck didn't support it, I mean, you could install it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's just too much of a pain in the butt. I love that this is native. So, for those of you who don't want a Windows experience, that's a different story. For me, that's an added bonus with this machine. It just goes to show you that this is more than a one-trick pony, so to speak. So, you want to turn this into a lightweight machine for daily tasks, work, nothing too intensive. You're going to be able to do that. You want to game with it? Well, that's the premise out of the box, right? But gaming at higher resolutions than the 1080p, you can pretty much forget about that. And this is something that doesn't surprise me because as I've been reviewing Ultrabooks now for years, one thing I've always pointed out with Ultrabook performance is that gaming has become more and more possible with systems like that do not incorporate, they just have integrated rather than discrete GPUs. So it's not surprising that this eventually became a concept, and I'm glad Valve did it. I'm glad Asus is following suit by just trying to make a much more powerful piece of hardware. So that's a first look, and that's pretty much it for today. But again, as someone who loves ultra-mobile PCs, I now have the opportunity, in my opinion, at an affordable price to have a really nice piece of hardware. I like the fit and finish. It's really lightweight. And just to give you that side-by-side with the Steam Deck is a good piece of hardware. I don't want anyone to get this twisted. It's just so large and clunky compared to this guy right here. And I know it doesn't look that much bigger in terms of length, but it just feels a lot larger. I think the ergonomics on the Ally are just superior. Some people, will swear by the trackpads on this, and I get it. I don't think they're necessary. The hardware is really close. So again, do you need to pick this up if you already have the Steam Deck? I would say absolutely not. If you're addicted to your Steam Deck and wish that it had more performance, then you probably are going to want to pick one of these up and find someone in the family or your friend circle to give that Steam Deck to, or see if you can sell it, which is going to be a little bit more challenging. But overall, again, the Ally seems like the device to own right now if you've been waiting for Windows 11 mobile gaming and emulation to your heart's desire. Yes, most of that can be done with the Steam Deck, but the Windows 11 part and the extra horsepower that the Ally brings to the table, along with, in my opinion, again, better ergonomics, better design language, really tough to beat, and all for a whopping $50 more. Again, at that highest price point, you're just getting much better hardware across the board. Doesn't mean it's better overall, but I mean, outside of really low wattage gaming, the Ally is, at least from what I've seen, just tears up the Steam Deck. Maybe not worlds apart, but definitely much, much more performance and, again, higher res, higher refresh display. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.